want to share this story with you called Bees by Julie Murray. It's a nonfiction book. That's why we have a table of contents, a glossary, and an index. Let's learn some more about bees. Bees as insects. There are more than 1 million kinds of insects. All insects have 6 legs and a pair of antennae. Antennae are the long feelers on an insect's head. Butterflies, grasshoppers, ants, and bees are all insects. Antennae help bees sense their surroundings. Bees pollinate plants. Bees are important. Many plants could not grow fruits and vegetables without bees. This is because bees pollinate plants. Pollination happens as bees fly from flower to flower, gathering pollen. A flower's pollen grains are tiny and often look like powder. What they look like. All insects have 3 main body parts: a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. On a bee's head are 2 antennae, 5 eyes, and a proboscis. The proboscis is for drinking. Bees are very hairy. The thorax is the middle part of a bee. A pair of wings and 3 pairs of legs are on a bee's thorax. The abdomen is the back end of the bee. This is where a bee's stinger is, but not all bees have stingers. Like all insects, bees have a hard outer shell. There are many hairs covering the bee's shell. Some bees have hair on their eyes too. Solitary or social. There are more than 20,000 kinds of bees. Most kinds of bees are solitary bees. Solitary bees build their own nest. They do not live in hives like honeybees. Mason bees and hornface bees are 2 kinds of solitary bees. A mason bee. It is always about 93 degrees Fahrenheit inside a honeybee hive. Honeybees and bumblebees are not solitary. They live in groups or colonies. A bee colony can have as many as 50,000 bees. Each bee colony has its own hive. Inside the hive, bees build a honeycomb from wax, beeswax. 6-sided holes or cells make up the honeycomb. The honeycomb cells hold eggs, bee larvae, and honey. Colony bees. 3 types of bees live in colonies. There are queens, workers, and drones. Most of the time there's only 1 queen bee in a colony. Her main job is to lay eggs. A honeybee queen can lay 1,500 eggs each day. The queen bee rarely leaves the hive. All worker bees are female. These busy bees have many jobs. Worker bees build and repair the hive's honeycomb. They guard the hive and keep it clean. Workers also make honey and feed bee larvae. All the drones are male bees. A drone's job is to mate with the queen. Colony bees live and work together. Making honey. Making honey is a lot of work. First, worker bees gather nectar from flowers. They store this nectar in their honey sacs. The honey sac is a second stomach for storing nectar. A bee uses its proboscis to suck nectar from flowers. Bees eat stored honey and pollen in the winter. They also cluster together to stay warm. Workers bring this nectar back to the hive and share it. They chew the nectar and drop it in the honeycomb cells. Then the workers fan their wings over these cells. This dries out the nectar and changes it to honey. This honey is food for the bees. Not all honey is the same. There are many kinds of honey. One honey can taste and look different from another. The taste of honey comes from a flower's nectar. Nectar from orange blossoms make orange blossom honey. Nectar from clover flowers makes clover honey. Clover honey is what you commonly see at the store. Stages of life. Bees begin life inside eggs. Worm-like larvae hatch from these eggs. Bees feed the larva. After a larva grows bigger, it will grow a special outer shell. The larva is now a pupa. Over time, the pupa changes into an adult bee. Honeybee larvae hatch after 1 to 6 days. Beekeeping. A beekeeper is someone who raises bees for their honey and beeswax. Beekeepers have bees build their hives in special boxes. Special clothing for beekeepers. Beekeepers wear special clothes to gather the honey. They wear netting that covers their faces. They also wear white coveralls, boots, and gloves. These clothes help to keep beekeepers safe from bee stings. Bees. I hope you learned a little more about bees today, and we can have an activity where we learn even more.